After a week in which the government has argued the law could restart the people smuggling trade, Mr. Porter is prosecuting another line of attack, that the legislation does not give enough consideration to the character of refugees seeking medical assessment in Australia. "We don't have every single criminal record of every person," Mr. Porter said. "People fit the category of having been charged of serious offences including sexual offences, and we are unable now to refuse their entry into Australia." Mr. Porter was pushed to reveal whether any alleged murderers or rapists were awaiting sentence on Manus Island or Nauru, but could not identify any cases. However, in Parliament on Wednesday, Mr. Porter noted two matters on Manus Island. "We are well aware of the reporting of a potential transferee on Manus Island who is charged with 4 counts of sexual penetration of a minor," he said. "We are aware of another potential transferee who has been charged with an indecent act with a child under 16. Mr. Porter did not say whether these refugees were being considered for a medical transfer. Loading the final version of the law gives the minister the capacity to reject a transfer on several grounds. Under the first, a transfer can be rejected if the government reasonably suspects that moving a person would harm Australia's national security. The minister could also reject a transfer if a person has a substantial criminal record, and the minister believes they would pose a danger to society. Under the Act, a person has a substantial criminal record if they have been sentenced to longer than 12 months in prison." Mr. Porter on Sunday reiterated that the government is preparing for an influx of hundreds of refugees, a claim rejected by doctors and advocacy groups. The Human Rights Law Centre said last week that it was assessing 70 people on Manus Island and Nauru, of which a handful were urgent loading of the 1080 refugees in offshore detention. Doctors agree that roughly 300 would apply for medical treatment in Australia, but do not believe they would all come at once. One significant bottleneck is the Nauruan government, which often takes weeks or months to approve medical transfers from its end. Wary of a federal election fought on border security, opposition leader Bill Shorten reassured voters on Saturday that if elected his government would not stand for a revitalized people smuggling trade. "We always know that there are people who would seek to undermine our border security. Under a Labour government we'll have a ring of steel around this country," he said. "But the issue though that the government is conflating is they are confused that you can only have strong borders by treating people in our care cruelly. I don't buy that argument." Prime Minister Scott Morrison said his government was preparing for the possibility that hundreds of refugees would seek mainland medical treatment, adding that the new law's safeguards were insufficient. "Refugees can drive a truck through the supposed protections Labour says they put in place.